this example, we're going to sketch one complete cycle graph of y equals secant of pi over 4 times x. Recall the secant function is the reciprocal of the cosine function. So we're going to sketch a graph based on the cosine graph. Y equals cosine of pi over 4x. And the 5 key points for the cosine function going to be 1, 0, -1, 0, and then back to 1. The cosecant pi over 4x, we use the standard form to consider the property of the graph as k plus a times cosine of bx plus c. This case, the k is 0. K equals 0. That means no vertical shift. A equals 1 as a coefficient of the cosine. If A is 1, A is positive. Positive means no reflection. Gonna follow the pattern of the cosine graph. A equals 1 tells us about the amplitude of the graph, which is the absolute value of the A, or just 1. Next value, the B value, which is pi over 4. Pi over 4 is used to compute the period of the graph, which is 2 pi divided by B, or 2 pi divided by pi over 4. Write it as the multiplication of the reciprocal. Get the period of the value 8. The C value is 0 for this function. That means the phase shift, which is from -c divided by b equals 0. That tells us the graph starts at the point 0. And then we're going to compute the increment for the 4 equal subintervals, which is from period divided by 4. The period is 8 divided by 4, going to be 2. We're going to make a list of the 5 key points to sketch the graph. Starting at 0 with the increment of 2. The next will be 2, 4, 6, 8. Next, we're going to complete the table, but this table is going to be the table of the cosine function. The first point of the x is 0, and then with the increment 2 to get 2, 4, 6, and 8. The function is y equals cosine of pi over 4x. Since the coefficient is 1, so we're going to use the 5 key points for the typical cosine graph to complete the table. There's 1 here, 0, -1, 0, 1. Order pair is 0, 1, 2, 0, 4, -1, 6, 0, 8, 1. The cosine and the secant is the reciprocal of each other. If the function value is 0 for the cosine, the secant gonna be undefined. That means the vertical asymptote occurs at the second and the fourth point. This one and this one, the vertical asymptote occurs. Now, we're going to sketch the graph of the cosecant as the baseline and then use it to sketch the graph of the secant function. The maximum of the cosine function in this case is 1, minimum is -1. So make sure we cover that number, those numbers. So 1 here, -1, starting at 0 with the increment 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8. At 0, the function value is 1. At 2, function value is 0. At 4, -1. At 6, back to 0. And 8, go back to 1. The graph of the cosine will be as you see in green. At the point function value 0 will give us the vertical asymptote for the secant graph. Then we do the reciprocal graph for each part of the graph on the left on the right side of the vertical asymptote. So the graph in pink will be the graph for the y equals secant of pi over 4x.